I'd like to propose a toast.
I started making videos on YouTube about 2.5 years ago, but this video has really been 17 years in the making.
Here's to the ladies who lunch.
When I was 14 years old, my school decided to put on a production of Stephen Sondheim's Company.
Lounging
I hadn't come across much musical theatre at the time and certainly hadn't heard of Sondheim, but I will never forget the moment that I listened to those opening staccato chords for the first time. It turned out that I was too young to audition for a named character, but I was given the opportunity to shadow the male leads in rehearsal and to act as an understudy if needed. And really, this was the best thing that could have happened to me. I went almost to every rehearsal. I listened and re-listened to the CD until it had scratches on. My score was covered with pencil marks. And during those 10 weeks, I fell in love with Stephen Sondheim's music. But it wasn't long until I was able to perform a sung role in one of his shows. The year after Company, we put on Bernstein's Candide. And as a fearless 15-year-old, I played the title role. And then a year later, we returned to Sondheim with Follies, his homage to the musical revues of the 20s and 30s.
Hats off, here they come, those beautiful girls.
I performed the role of Buddy, one half of the two couples at the centre of the story. Buddy gets a song in the second act, Buddy's Blues.
Hello, folks, we're into the Follies. First, though, folks, we'll pause for a moment.
And I seem to remember throwing myself around the stage during that number.
It's just I got a problem that I think you should know.
Not really appropriate for a character that's meant to be in his 50s,
I've been very perturbed of late, very upset.
but I was 16.
Very betwixt and between.
Then, 2 years later, at university, I played Jack in Into the Woods.
There are giants in the sky.
And a year after that, I was all set to play Anthony in Sweeney Todd. I didn't end up singing the role of Anthony, but through hammering my way on the piano through Sondheim's score for Sweeney Todd, I fell in love with another of his musicals. Sondheim's musicals mean so many different things to so many people, but I'd like to spend just a moment trying to express why I find his music and his lyrics and the way he tells stories so compelling. And I think I'll start with something that captivated me as a 14-year-old. It's very easy to get the balance of a musical number wrong. If you push the number of musical or conceptual or lyrical layers too far, a song can become muddy or confused. But if you make it too simple, it can come off as saccharine or lacking depth, and Sondheim seemed to completely understand this balancing act. He gives you just enough to latch onto, but not so much that the song comes off as predictable. I mean, just listen to this song from Company. Getting Married Today has 3 musical components. Jenny singing her slow ode to marriage, Paul delivering his lyrical vows,
Amy, I give you the rest of my love.
and Amy spitting out her manic patter.
Pardon me, is everybody here? Because if everybody's here, I want to thank you all for coming to the wedding. I'd appreciate you going even more. I mean, you must have lots of better things to do, and not a word of it to Paul. Remember,
I'd be amazed if you catch everything in the first, second, or even 10th listen of this song.
The flowers. Thank you all. Now it's back to the showers. Don't tell Paul, but I'm not getting married today.
There's something insanely clever about it. Its structure is tightly controlled, but it feels completely out of control at the same time.
Wouldn't it be funnier to go and watch a few listen? Thank you for the 27 dinner plate, 37 bought a nice 47.
You can hear Sondheim smirking as he writes this music, an enormous puzzle that he's not only creating, but also solving.
Not getting married today. I was praying that we're not getting married today.
And you can find examples of this same tongue-in-cheek songwriting in every one of his shows. God That's Good from the second act of Sweeney Todd would be impossible for a lesser songwriter to put together. You've got Mrs. Lovett moving between Mr. Todd and the crowd.
Nice to see you, dearie. How have you been, King?
Toby serving pies and drinks.
Are your nostrils
trembling as well as that delicate, luscious ambrosial smell.
Sweeney setting up his new chair and slitting the throats of his customers.
Is that a chair fit for a king, a wondrous
And the patrons of the pie shop demanding service. Each of these dramatic elements would be difficult to deal with in isolation, but Sondheim puts one next to the other, sometimes overlapping multiple musical ideas at the same time, all whilst effortlessly switching between different keys, dynamics and meters. The feeling we get is that we're hearing the work of someone who has a complete, unwavering control over their music. And it's like a drug to listen to. It's so intricate and complex, but at the same time completely passable. There are so many examples of this. Just listen to Your Fault from Into the Woods.
Wait a minute! Hadn't dared him to.
And you had left the harp alone, it wouldn't be in trouble in the first place.
She hadn't raised it
Yes,
in the first
she hadn't raised it in in the the first first place.
Or Putting It Together from Sunday in the Park with George.
Touch of complication to a balanced composition. It depends on aspiration. If you do have that
He's just showing off here.
concentration, the art of making all.
But it would be easy to reduce Sondheim's music to complexity for complexity's sake, as many have done in the past. Cerebral, clever music, yes, but lacking a good tune, or lacking the magic captured by Richard Rodgers, Kurt Weill or Cole Porter. Sondheim even takes a self-deprecating stab at his own songwriting ability in Opening Doors from his 1981 show, Merrily We Roll Along, sung here by the man himself.
There's not a tune you can hum. There's not a tune you go bum 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 dum.
But Sondheim has not only written tens of tunes you can hum, but also some of the most tragically beautiful melodies in musical theatre history. Sondheim's tunes tend to be syllabic, where each syllable is assigned to a single note,
and pretending I reach for you.
as opposed to melodies that use what's called melismatic phrases, where one syllable is stretched out across multiple notes. The result is that Sondheim's melodies often feel closer to speech than song.
Wasted, merely passing through.
But whilst this does to an extent limit the expressive range of each melody, when the melody is combined with Sondheim's lyrics, it opens up a completely new world of expressive potential. It leads to the soft, rocking, comforting feeling of In Buddy's Eyes from Follies.
Buddy's eyes, I'm young, I'm beautiful.
The insistent urgency of being alive from Company.
Somebody hold me too close. Somebody.
And the quiet, reflective simplicity of No More from Into the Woods.
Can't we just pursue our lives with our children and our wives till that happy day arrives? How do you ignore
The lyrics and the story are taking centre stage here, with the melody being used as a way to unlock the intricate sounds and meanings of the words being sung.
all the lies, the false hopes, the goodbyes, the reverses? All the wondering what even worse is still in store.
But sometimes melodies do have their own enormous expressive power. Finishing the Hat from Sunday in the Park with George starts with short, clipped phrases, mimicking George's pointed brushstrokes or the artist's fleeting thoughts.
Finishing the hat. How you have to finish the hat.
But within a fraction of a second, the melody jumps to the highest part of the tenor voice.
And how you're always turning back too late from the grass or the stick or the dog.
Like a sudden, uncontrollable burst of emotion, art and music.
It's not the kind that you want to find waiting to return you to the night.
This idea is used to similar effect in the achingly beautiful Not While I'm Around from Sweeney Todd. We get a sudden jump in range and tessitura towards the end of the song.
Demons will charm you with a smile for a while, but in time, nothing's gonna harm you.
Creating a dark contrast between the innocence of Toby's declaration of love and the shadow of lies and death that surrounds them. These melodies are beautiful by themselves, but each is brought alive by their context. Even Sondheim's most famous song, Sending the Clowns, still bears the marks of its origin. The song is sung by Desiree in the second act of A Little Night Music, as she thinks about the decisions she has made in her life that have led her to this point. The song is a collection of short, decaying phrases.
Isn't it rich? Are we a pair?
A music of complete vulnerability and tenderness,
Me here at last on the ground.
where the gaps between each phrase of the melody, the silence, are as important as the notes themselves.
Sending the clouds.
And this example, like any of Sondheim's songs, highlights his desire to create drama in music. A song is not just a song. A melody is not just a melody. They're the soul of the characters, laid bare.
One who keeps tearing around. One who can't move.
Sondheim has told the story of him meeting and being mentored by Oscar Hammerstein in countless interviews. And the thing he talks about most of all is how he learnt how to structure and write songs. But what Hammerstein, or anyone else for that matter, can't have taught him
Mother cannot guide you.
is what to write about.
Now you're on your own.
Whenever I listen to or sing Sondheim's music, the word that keeps coming to my mind is humanity.
Still you're not alone. No one is alone.
Sondheim seemed to not only understand the good things about people, but also the bad. There's no patronising going on here, no sugarcoating, no blanket optimism.
People leave you halfway through the wood.
Sondheim's view of life and the world presents people as flawed and difficult and wrong, but his songs also tell us that we can be good and that we can change.
You decide alone, but no one is alone.
It's a view on life that I find deeply comforting, to know that even if I make a mistake, which I have done and which I will do in the future,
Hard to see the light now.
the people that I love will forgive me.
Just don't let it go.
To be human is to be messy and complex, but it's also to know that we live in all that mess and complexity
Make it so.
together.
Someone is on your side. No one is alone.
It would be easy now to finish with a list of Sondheim's accomplishments and to try to put into words how he has not only changed musical theatre, but also theatre and music in general. But I think this would be a little disingenuous. When I listen to his music, I don't hear a giant of American musical theatre, but instead I hear a person whose music spoke to me as a lost teenager
It goes, you can say to yourself, while I give what I give.
at a point at which I was struggling with my sexuality and struggling to find a place in this world.
Part of you, always standing by.
And that's how I remember him, as the person who helped me navigate a way out of the shadows.
Finishing a hat.
What you feel when voices that come through the window go until they distance and die, until there's nothing but
I
sky.
made a hat.
Look, Mr. Sondheim, you've finished the hat.
Where there never was a hat.
That's good. That's terrific.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm really pleased that this video has been sponsored by Mubi. Mubi is a curated streaming service showing exceptional films from around the globe, and I've had so much fun diving into their world over the past few months. The last thing I watched was the new rock opera, Annette, starring Marion Cotillard and Adam Driver. The film is a sort of weird mixture of farce and thriller, and it was one of the most distinctive musicals that I've ever seen. And these are the sorts of films that you won't find on any other platform. Every day, Mubi adds new films to its catalogue, from brand new work by emerging filmmakers to modern masterpieces from today's greatest icons. And with Mubi, each and every film is hand-selected, so it feels like your own personal film festival, which you can access anywhere at any time. And if you want to try Mubi out, you can get 30 days of great cinema completely free by going to mubi.com/listening-in. Thank you so much to Mubi for sponsoring this video and for supporting my channel.
Relationships, the concerts you enjoy together, neighbors you annoy
See you next
together,
time.
children you destroy together, that keep marriage intact. It's not so hard to be married when two maneuver.